Hey everyone. Thank you for joining us for the next session of our Fabric Data Days monthly sessions. My name is Anna. I'll be your producer for this session. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to review our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our moderators and presenters to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Reactor channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our speakers for today. Thank you both so much.
Hello, and welcome. Let's kick things off here. Since my video's on the top here, I'll go first. So hello, my name is Mike Carlo. Welcome to Being an Analyst Today. And with me, I have Eugene.
Yeah, I am, what am I these days? I don't think anyone knows in the day of AI, but I'm a Power BI and Fabric consultant. And Mike and I have dueling podcasts, which you'll see in our, our bios. And I'm very excited to have this talk because it's been a wild few weeks lately with the rate of AI and getting up to speed.
Awesome. With that, we'll just dive right in.
Yeah.
Let me roll the slides here. All right, quick introduction for myself. My name is Mike Carlo. I'm an owner of Carlo Solutions. Shocker, it's my name. So we do a mix of app development, software development, and as well as heavy consulting around everything Microsoft Fabric and Power BI. So I run a product that we've developed called Intellexo. So if you are familiar with Power BI Embedded or embedded accelerators, we have a product that you can go buy today directly off the Microsoft Store using it's like a custom portal for embedding Databricks reports and Power BI reports all in the same portal. It's super cool. It's very fun, very easy to use. We'd love you if you go test out our product. I'm also the creator of Power BI Tips. If you've been around the Power BI ecosystem or space at all, you've probably seen me way back in the day. I started blogging in 2016 about this and became an MVP in 2017. If you want to check out the stuff that we do a ton of content online. YouTube and LinkedIn is where you can find me if you want to engage with our podcast and content. We are really excited to announce we're close. I think we just finished episode 496 today. So we're almost breaking the 500 mark, which it's been like many years in the making. So anyways, Eugene, over to you.
Yeah. I'm also an MVP, not nearly as long, I think for about 3 years, but I've been doing Power BI since 2016 because I was a DBA who got rolled under the SharePoint team. And I thought, what's the midpoint between SharePoint and SSRS? And that 2016, it was Power BI.
Yes, it was.
I run SQL Gene Training LLC, which has 1.5 employees. So me and a part-time person. And I do Power BI consulting, Fabric consulting. And I'm the host of Figuring Out Fabric. It started just a year ago. And we've got 24 episodes out and 2 in the backlog that I need to publish. So not nearly as prolific. I'm probably doing it every other week instead of twice a week. So we're both doing it bi-weekly. We just have different ideas of what that means.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but very, very proud of it because if you're anything like me, been very lost with Fabric. And so I'm hoping you can come join me and figure out what this Fabric stuff is.
Awesome. All right, let's keep clicking along here.
Yeah.
Your moderators for today, you'll see Greg and Chris in the chat as well. So say hi, Greg and Chris. If you want to ask questions, they'll be there fielding them for us as well. So please, we want this to be very engaging.
Yep.
Check it out. Make sure you enter your questions directly into the YouTube channel. That'll be great for you to get engaged there as well. We really want you to tell your experiences of where you're using AI, where you're finding successes with it, and we'll react to those as well. So we're definitely going to want to watch the chat as well.
Very live session for sure.
Another announcement here, Fabric Data Days. This is your monthly invite here. Scan the QR code, get engaged, watch some more videos. We have a lot more content coming for you. You definitely want to check it out. Easy place, free learning. This is going to be amazing for you. Make sure you get plugged in here. There's a link down here in aka.ms. You can also use as well if you can't scan the QR code. All right. Other announcements, what's happening and coming up here in January and February. So you want to work with Fabric? You want to be a data analyst in the era of AI. That's what we're in right now. And there's going to be a bunch of get certified elements, data engineer, analytics engineers coming up as well. So definitely make sure you tune in for those coming at January 27th, 3rd, and the 4th. All right. These things are exciting. Eugene, have you been to any of these? Have you seen some of these?
I was at the one at FabCon, and someone had the time tracker that people do for speedrunning video games.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. No, I was one of the like MCs or moderators or something. So Shannon Lindsay was nice enough to get me a glittery hat to wear as I walked around. So it was wild to see people building reports live, like as fast as possible.
This excites me. Seeing people being able to like build and develop and create things in real time with tools, like just on desktop, this is phenomenal. So if you haven't checked out the stuff out before, definitely follow in this link. There's more competitions coming. There's world championships. This is an elite group of people that are doing the best of the best across the world. It's super fun to watch. I get inspired and super amped up when I watch people building things. And I love, like, every time I see a report that I can't quite figure out how it worked, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait. I would love to download it and play with the report and see what's in there. So you definitely want to check out Power BI Data Viz World Championships. Those are fun and engaging as well. Get some certifications, DP600 and DP700. You can get these for free. Check out the link here below. We have an offer ending on February 28th. So we only have a limited supply. Make sure you scan and ask for these codes right away. You only can get them while these supplies last. All right, this is where we will be. Now, Eugene, you're gonna be here, right? You're speaking.
I didn't make it in this time, but I might sneak in through the back door. So
okay,
I'm hoping to be there, because there's other ways to get tickets sometimes. But no, I submitted. Sad I didn't get accepted, but there's still a lot of great speakers. So it looks like an exciting event. So I'm excited, and it's cheaper than Vegas. So that's a win.
100%. It's a win. So FabCon is now in Atlanta, and there's 2 conferences, and it's coming from both worlds here. It's from the Power BI world and Fabric world, and it's also coming from the SQL world. So there's 2 conferences happening at the same event. You definitely want to check out FabCon and SQL Con, which is all happening at the same event, same building. You definitely want to check out that as well. FabCon is going to be amazing. I will be there. If you want to come early and learn more about MCPs and AI, we have a full Monday 8 hours session. You can hang out with me in a room. I mean, if you really want to, I guess. Matthias Tierbach and I will be in a room talking about MCP servers, how to leverage them. What does it look like to use them inside your Fabric and your Power BI deployments? How can it help you? So anyways, this stuff's all upcoming. Come here and learn a lot of new things around Fabric. All right. The main slide. Announcements are over. We're going to jump in now. All right. So working as a data analyst in the era of AI. All right. Today, we'd like to give you just a little bit of context. We want to just level set through some slides here about what we see AI and analytics doing, and then really speak from the heart here about what we're doing, how we're leveraging it, where we feel like we fit inside this AI experience. Lastly, we want to give you some key takeaways that we're thinking about as we unpack where AI fits in lieu of creating, designing, building, and then serving content back out to your customers and your organization. Any other thoughts here, Eugene?
No, I think one of the themes that's going to come up is you just have to do it. And I don't mean this in some way that we're like pushing on people or whatever, but something I was reading about in instructional design. There's a book called Design for How People Learn by Julie Dirksen. And, she talks about the different ways of learning. And the quote that sticks with me is, would you want your car mechanic to have only learned from reading books? And the answer is no. This is one of those things where like you have to get your hands dirty if you want to learn it. And so don't listen to all the hype on social media. Just give it a shot. And we've got a poll. It looks like 52% of people are using AI in their data work today. So an even split.
Yeah, love it. Well, I'm on the camp of a 100%. Let's use some more AI. So we want to make this live and interactive. Please share your feedback, share your comments. What do you think about AI? What are you using AI to do? Please let us know in the chat. We will try to react to those as we go here as well. There's also, someone's already mentioning here, there's a lot of AI hype around that. So I'll pick on that chat already. AI hype around all these things that are AI. We're going to try and cut through some of that hype for you as well. We're going to try and give you what's working for us right now and what's good and what's not so good. So hopefully you'll come away with a couple actionable things here. You can go spend some time in learning. All right, let's move on. Why should we care? a lot of messaging, and this is kind of maybe some around the AI hype. Eugene, we were talking earlier before the show, this analogy of how do you feel about AI? What does it feel like to you right now? For me, I gave a really kind of off the cuff analogy of like, imagine, have you ever seen people like running across icebergs in a moving river, right? You jump on and it's a little bit tilty. You're not quite sure your footing. And then I feel like with AI right now, I keep just jumping from iceberg to iceberg. Things are a little off tilter. I'm trying to figure things out. So AI is not quite established yet, but every couple of weeks, I feel like I'm getting a brand new wave of like these new things are happening. It can do so much more. It's getting so much more capable. So I'm really trying to figure out where it fits and how do I use it in my day-to-day workflow. What about you?
Yeah, oh man, I've gone through like the 5 stages of grief, I feel like, because when ChatGPT first came out, I like put together a presentation on it and I thought it was gonna be important. And then I'm like, this stuff really can't do that much. And then it's kind of like boomeranged back around and it's starting to get more competent.
Yes.
And so I think very much so that it's extremely overwhelming, extremely challenging to keep up with it. Like you said, just trying to like ride the ice flow right now.
Yeah.
But I think that there are compounding gains to playing around with it and understanding the fault lines, understanding when it works and when it falls apart, and to keep notes of when it doesn't work. Because in 6 months it might. And so suddenly you have a way to benchmark Gemini 17.5 or Claude Opus 14.8 or whatever that comes out. So yeah, I think it's okay to be overwhelmed right now. It really
I really
is.
like your point here. I also think I like your perspective on take note of what didn't quite work today. I think a lot of times when I interact with a product, I test it out, and it works or it doesn't, and then I just say, I'll put it on the shelf and I don't come back for 6 months.
Well,
I would probably argue you don't want to wait that long anymore. You might want to try fairly frequently, every couple months, if something didn't go the way you thought. I also think I'm learning a little bit here. I don't know how to prompt very well. I'm still figuring out how to be a better prompter.
Well, so I think a couple things super quick. So one is there's this idea from Ethan Mollick, a professor from Wharton School, of the jagged frontier. Right now, AI can write an impressive essay, but it has trouble counting the R's in strawberry sometimes. Although the thinking models are better at it. They'll count on their digital hands and toes. And so it's really important to understand the things that they're good at and the things that they're not. But also, sometimes it's hard to test these things. So a lot of the old benchmarks are getting saturated, a lot of the simple multiple choice stuff. Even my DAX benchmark, so I did some for funsies,
I saw that,
have started getting saturated. Like Gemini 3 got like an 80% or 90% on my tests. And so I have to find harder DAX questions. And the problem is if all the AIs fail it, is that because it's a hard question or because I wrote it wrong? And so if you can squirrel away those things that it can't do right now, then you have a way to judge it. And I can give you a perfect example of my real life. So you talk about like, hey, this product didn't work for me. ChatGPT 3.5, I was using to help with a LARP, so live action role playing. We hit people with foam swords in the woods. And I was on the rules team. And I said, hey, come up with some status effects. And clearly it was just regurgitating D&D, and it didn't quite understand the world because it had some great ones, but it had one where people can run twice as fast if they're hasted. Well, in real life,
I love it.
Yeah, right. You're not going to just run faster.
I'll take 2.
Yeah. And there was another one where it was like, all right, before a swing, you get to roll a D20. And I promise you, if I'm in the woods hitting you with a foam sword, I'm not going to roll a D20. ChatGPT 5.2 today would probably nail it. So you really, every 3 to 6 months, you need to reevaluate the capabilities and you need to use the best models. Don't use the free ones. If you use the free ones, you're using an automated dummy.
I like that. Great.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, let's move on to, let's continue our level setting here. Like what's going on, expectation pieces of this as well. So let's just maybe like kind of talk about what AI things are doing, right? So there's a couple ways that we're using AI, predictive things, right? So when you talk about analytics curves, or you talk about anomaly detection, or you're talking about things that are suggesting what you should do next. That's where a lot of we would put AI. And I'll even argue to some degree, it's heavy statistics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of it, there's a lot of statistics behind the scenes. There's these weighting, these models, all these things are happening behind the scenes here. So sometimes you're just throwing heavy statistics at a problem, and the computer is just way better at doing that than we are. right? So that's kind of what it's probability determining what's going on based on past data. What are we able to predict for the future? This is what you see a lot around basket analysis, right? If you buy peanut butter, you're more likely to buy diapers or whatever the other coordination thing is. The AI knows what these are, and so that helps with product placement in stores and all these other kind of things. So you're using data to support your next decision.
Yeah,
The other area.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. Well,
Yeah, go
there's a
ahead.
joke with this that we used to have in the industry where if you are, if you're selling something, it's AI. If you're hiring someone, it's machine learning. And if you're implementing it, it's a linear regression. And that's what this predictive kind of piece is,
Yes,
and what AI
so
used
true.
to mean. But now
Love
a lot
it.
of times we're saying when we talk about AI, people think about the generative AI, the whole chatbot kind of stuff.
Yes, totally agree there. Awesome. So then now we're going to move to generative pieces, and this is where things starts getting crazy. This is where 3 years ago when large language models appeared, it's starting to generate text really, really good. It's starting to generate images. You're able to generate videos and images, and you can pick a picture of someone in 3 different positions and see how they're generating things. I think there's an undervalued effort of using AI to help you build generative things. I think generative is the sweet spot right now for AI in a lot of spaces. So that's one area that we're going to be talking about, discussing here as well. And then the last part here is automation, right? How does AI assist you with generating or building some automation? And this is where I think the real sweet spot comes between what AI can do and how you have that AI help you build the automation processes or things that run in other systems. Eugene, you've been building incredible apps. I've been kind of watching you here from afar, and I'm very impressed with how much models and solutions and applications you're building. But you're taking those applications, they're solving a very specific problem. It's generating, it's automating something that you would normally have to do very slowly, and it's rebuilding these things in a way that you could leverage them and use them. So tooling, I've talked on the podcast a lot. We're going to get to an era where we're going to build a tool and throw it away because it's going to be easy to regenerate it. The prompt is going to be what you want to save, right? Because I want to reuse that prompt next month with a better model at some point.
There's a I don't know if you want to call this performance art or a library, and we'll probably find the link. It's called WhenWords. It's the first code library that has no code in it. So it's a spec, and it's a bunch of test cases. And the idea is you give it to an AI, and it basically generates some date time logic for how you would want to parse dates and text and all that kind of stuff. So
it's on GitHub. I just found it. It's on GitHub, and it's called WhenWords.
Yep, you got it half on the screen.
Yep, there you go. Oh, sorry, I was going to pull down here. WhenWords. Here's what you're talking about. WhenWords here, a relative time formatting library with no code.
No code.
Amazing.
This is the world that we live in.
Yeah, you can just pull things up. Love it. And honestly, when I think about AI, right? A lot of people may be scared of these things and what's going on there. I think I would kind of push back a little bit and say it's nothing to be scared about. I'm actually looking at it going, hey, AI is just changing the programming language that I use. I think I'm just using English as opposed to having to write TypeScript and React and all these other languages, Python, right? For that matter, I can now program in language that I just speak naturally and understand, which is, I think, a major move for computers in general.
I think it's good, but I think a theme we're going to touch upon is anyone here who works with business intelligence knows that just because we all speak English does not mean we speak it well. And it doesn't mean that we're all very good at requirements gathering and specification, right? So, it's a nice language, but it's not one a lot of people are skilled in.
A preview to where I think we're going here, right? Yeah. So let's keep going here down that line of thinking, right? What can generative AI do, right? Generative AI can draft, it can summarize, it can brainstorm really well with you. I love brainstorming with AI, super good. And it comes up with edge cases and things that I'm not thinking of. Requirements gathering is great. It also creates visuals. You can use AI to build things. I'm seeing a lot of people now build SVG visuals using AI agents to help produce those kind of things. That's really kind of interesting on the creator side.
Yeah.
On the can't side, I 100% agree with these. You can't replace your human judgment, right? It doesn't give the context of your business. It can get some information about it, but it doesn't deeply understand the why of how you do business or what your business needs from you and your analytics. And then AI tries to, it's getting better at this, but it definitely does not guarantee accuracy on things.
Yeah. So we'd love for you all to post in the chat what you've been using generative AI for, or what you're doing with it right now. And we've got a survey, and it seems like the biggest barrier right now is lack of knowledge.
Mhm.
And if it makes you feel any better, Andre Karpathy, one of the preeminent people in the generative AI field, I think he was like director of AI for Tesla, and then he worked at OpenAI, talked on Twitter or X a week or two ago about how he feels overwhelmed. And this is the guy who's like teaching a course on how to build an LLM for $100. But just that there's all these 3-letter acronyms, there's all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I think, again, if you feel like there's a lack of knowledge, that's understandable. Treat this like a daily habit and don't let it overwhelm you. 15 minutes every day and getting your hands dirty is way, way better than trying to keep up. It's way better than spending 8 hours, unless you're spending 8 hours with Mike and Matthias, and then you absolutely should go do that, right?
Well, please do. That'll be a heavy session of like lots of brain information all in once. Love it. Excellent. One kind of quick call out here before we move to the next slide, right? Let's talk about where do we want to apply the report analyst? We've been talking about AI here for a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's kind of tie this back to like, what does the business analyst do? How do they leverage this, right? You can talk to Copilot and say, hey, I have some business requirements. What should I be thinking through here? Is there anything I missed? Here's the requirements the business gave me. Give to me, like, review these requirements and tell me something else, right? That's a great opportunity to engage AI to help you create and think and brainstorm on top of things. Maybe AI will help you create a quick mock-up, build a rough draft of something that does this. Go back to your business team without even touching desktop and show them, here's a rough sketch of what I think we may want. Does this work for you? Do you like it?
Well, because like in business intelligence, in my experience, and probably yours, people don't know what they want until you show them what they asked for and they decided that they want something else. And that's just human nature. And so, like you said, the faster you can get to a proof of concept or a sketch, the better, right?
Mhm.
So embracing throwaway code, throwaway mockups, or like you said, just getting something to help you think this through, to be there's the idea of rubber duck development, where you talk to a rubber duck to think through your problem.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is a rubber duck that talks back to you. I think that's awesome.
It squeaks a little.
Yes.
Love it. All right, excellent. So let's talk about some of the like key areas that we're thinking, like we're focusing on analytics and AI, right? So where do we see AI being injected into the Power BI and Fabric ecosystem? These are the kind of places where we see like the investments going, right? You're looking at predictive modeling, anomaly detection. We talked about this earlier. You can now do real-time anomaly detection. And so as real-time data is funneling into your Fabric environment, you can then automatically detect something that's out of normal or out of whack and alert on that. Like that makes sense, right? Some of these standard insights you can automate. That another place where you can do that. Natural language queries. So when you're writing with Copilot on home, there's a natural language, whatever language you're speaking, natural language to DAX, natural language to SQL.
Yeah.
And we're now getting some like natural language to Python things when you use like extra tooling like VS Code and language models that go there as well. Hey, write this Python that does this, right? It just figures it out for you. Anything else you'd add here, Eugene?
In terms of this piece, no. Actually, no. I do have something. So this is somewhere in the middle of natural language queries and creation assistance. But one of the biggest areas that I see value potentially is you take the Power BI modeling MCP and you hook it up to some old crusty report that's been handed off to you and ask it to find all of the skeletons in the closet.
Yeah. Summarizes what's going on here. What DAX is going on? Is it good or not?
Do the comments match the DAX code or whatever? Because like you and I, we're consultants, so we get parachuted into places.
Yes.
And we have to just figure it out. And so I so wish 5 years ago I had a little robot that could go and tell me, yeah, the comments don't match this at all, or some schmuck wrote this DAX code and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I do like that. That's a really good way of looking. And also, I'm going to double down on what you're commenting there on. Another place I really find this useful is when I am in a model and I don't want to document the model.
Yeah.
AI does a really good first pass. So one thing I think I've observed, and maybe you've seen the same thing as well, right? When you're working inside semantic models, you have to have descriptions on columns and names and things, and right? If you just go to the business and say, hey, business, write the names down for all the things that you're aware of, you may get mixed results as to anyone even participating. Like people will just
Yeah.
flat out ignore you because they don't have anything to react to, right? The next thing to do is let AI document parts of your model and then go back to the business, assuming that maybe it's right, but maybe it's not. I get a much better response rate when I give you a prompted or literally this is like the buzzword of the session today is prompt, but if I give you something to react to, you have the ability of saying, yeah, that's exactly what it is, or no, it's missing some context. It gets the creative juices flowing, I feel like, and allows you to get a better response about that column or measure description. What do you think? Have you seen the same?
Well, I think getting past that blank canvas is a big deal. I think, though, something that, we talked about how we're going to try and pierce the hype a little bit. Don't expect it to make good writing the first time. And so a lot of what I've been experiencing with Claude Code and GitHub Copilot and all this kind of stuff is being okay with iteration, the same way that you do with reports. And so if you want LLMs to be able to write good documentation, you need to be able to give it examples. You need to give it a style guide. Otherwise, you get the ChatGPT house style, and it's filled with M dashes, and it's not X, it's Y kind of prose.
Yeah, agreed.
And so I think the future of this is going to be not only are you using it for these things, but you're building out style guides, skill documents, and it's all in version control. And so now you have your technical documentation guide that gets iterated just like it's code. So absolutely.
Love this. There's so much to unpack here of what you're describing.
Yeah, we're probably going to do some follow-up podcasts because there's too much to talk about here.
So let me propose a concept, and Eugene gave me some slides that also had a bridge in it, but my bridge was not broken; it was complete. So we'll use the complete bridge for now. So
fair enough.
We'll come back to maybe some other slides later. But what I really wanted to say here is a quick point, and then we'll kind of go on to like where we're applying AI inside Power BI and Fabric. So one of the concepts here, a lot of people are maybe scared or thinking about or contemplating like AI is going to take my jobs. I don't think it will, honestly. If you stayed put in your current position right now and never learned anything brand new, yes, AI may come through and do a lot of or a majority of what you're doing. But I want to focus on this. AI is assisting with a lot of the task-based development of things, right? Predictive modeling, anomaly detection. These are all tasks, known quantities of work and effort that we just throw at the AI and it figures it out. Really, our job should be really thinking about how do we identify more problems and use AI as our bridge to get us down to the solutions. If in my career as an analyst and developer and engineer, there has never been a shortage of problems. There's always something else that's there. And, there's probably problems I haven't even identified yet because I haven't had time to think about it. I'm too busy writing code or developing tasks to get the current stuff done that I'm not thinking about the next bigger picture thing, right? So, here I'm really trying to think about how do I task out things that are just not adding value to my day-to-day? What can I lift those over? How can I automate them? How can I use creation assistance in my design flows in order to faster bridge that gap between identifying new problems and coming up with more solutions? I think this is golden.
I think on the one hand, I've been building more than ever and having more joy and fun than ever.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is that people's skills are going to have to change, and I don't think they're prepared for it. But I think people who work with BI are the best set up to handle this change.
Really like
that. Like the analogy I was using earlier today is like a biathlon. So biathlon, you do cross-country skiing and then rifle shooting. Two totally unrelated skills, and you have to like get your heart rate down to do the rifle shooting. And what's going to happen with AI is it's like that for us, where as developers, we've had two totally different skill sets. We've had the coding and data modeling and logical skill set, and then we've had the emotional intelligence, requirements gathering, problem solving kind of skill set where we have to work with the people, understand all this stuff.
Yes.
And what you're going to find is that whenever you no longer have to do all the typing yourself, you have to learn these other skills. You have to get better at how do I break up the problem into smaller pieces? How do I hand off work? How do I build tests to qualify and validate the work that's being done? And so I think the jobs are still going to be there, but I think you need to be ready to shift the skill set. Suddenly, our job's going to look a lot more like a product-focused engineer or a product manager or an engineering manager.
Yep. I was just listening to some episodes, and I think I saw a post on LinkedIn actually. One of the PMs from Microsoft had just mentioned, like, I'm a PM. I don't ever get in the code. I never write code. And all of a sudden he's like, I just completed my first pull request in like years. And I was like, congratulations. But it was all attributed to like AI. AI was the place that was, you can go out, hey, this simple thing needs to be changed. I can then go talk to the AI. It builds a little bit of code, boom, feature's done, and we can ship it. So I really do think like that ability to be able to distribute, manage, and break tasks down to smaller, manageable pieces is going to be really critical moving forward here. Awesome. Okay.
So what are LLMs
good for?
Yeah. So
take it away, Eugene.
Yeah. So this comes from a course I'm working on, where just trying to give people a sense of like what kind of stuff should you throw at the LLM. And personally, like, hopefully no one from Microsoft is listening. I'm not a fan of the like generate a whole report in one shot, super shiny rainbows and unicorns kind of thing. Instead, I think there's 3 things that I think about that they're really good for. One is, where can I use ugly code? And you might say, well, Eugene, all the code you write is ugly already. And I would say, well, that's rude. But still, there's, I think about how, like, if you've ever been to a farm, you might get some ugly vegetables. Or when I visit my aunt and uncle, they have hens. I get eggs of all different colors and shapes. And it's kind of shocking if you're used to Walmart where they're all the same.
White, cleaned out eggs. Yes,
exactly. Right.
Looks
but
different.
It still makes a good soup, a good stew, a good quiche. And so, if you're doing a one-off migration, I had to extract all of the SQL table references from a bunch of Snowflake SQL for a customer project.
Sure.
I had an LLM write PowerShell to do it. That code's gone. It's dead to me now, but it did the job. So we talked about proof of concept. If you can find anything where ugly code will do the job, that's awesome. The next one is hard to solve, easy to verify. Think of like a Sudoku puzzle. It'll take you 15 seconds to count the numbers and make sure it's right. But it takes a lot of work to find the solution. And so this is the sweet spot for using LLMs. So one of the projects I've worked on, if you go to vibes.sqlgene.com, I've got an M-Index sandbox, and you can run M code in your browser. No network access, no nothing. And the way that I was able to do that was I was able to give it a target, give it tests, and say, figure it out. Thank you, sir. So it's that first one right there. And this is all in the browser. And I trolled a bunch of people on Reddit by running M code in a Python notebook. So you can click run on that example data flow, and it produces the result. You can click convert on there, and it'll give you the pandas code, PySpark code, whatever. So go ahead and pick one and then click convert.
Got to go to PySpark. Convert.
No, there you go.
Boom.
So you can resize that if you want, but now you have the PySpark code you would need to do the same thing. And so this is a perfect example of, I can easily verify, did it produce the right code? I can set up tests to compare it, but it would be a lot of work to make a lexer, parser, and runtime for M. With AI, I vibe coded this. I didn't write a single line of code. And so the third thing that I have there is big if true. And so this goes to a lot of what Mike was talking about having a second set of eyes. The number of bugs that I've caught by just throwing the T-SQL code at an LLM and say, code review this.
Yes.
I assume that most of the stuff it finds is going to be crap. I don't care. But if it finds, we had bugs with null comparisons for a customer, right? Where they did a case when statement, and one of them was one of the cases was null. That'll never occur because in T-SQL, null is never null. So we potentially had bad business logic entering the business that AI caught. And so you want to find those things that you can be like, just take a look. And, if they find something awful, that saved you hours of debugging later. And so these are like 3 of the sweet spots. And what I say down here at the bottom is like, embrace the dumpster fire. Assume it's going to be a mess. Ignore the hype and figure out how, even if it's a dumpster fire, you can get real value out of this.
Yeah, I agree here. And I'll also kind of really lean on the idea here. I've talked about this a lot in the podcast previously, and I think even more so now than ever, you just saw a website of a whole bunch of vibe coded solutions in one place.
Yeah.
You may use them a couple times. It's an interest to you. You're just spending some time thinking through these processes and problems, right? I really do think like this whole idea of like being able to like provide many solutions that meet your need, or having a second buddy. One other concept I'll just maybe throw here down on the table as we're thinking about and unpacking this is there's never going to be another person that you're ever going to talk to that's going to know more syntax, code languages, and how to write code than any of these large language models, period. End of story. Like you're not going there is no humanly person available to know how all the syntax works on every single thing. Done. It just doesn't exist. And so the idea here is how do you leverage something that is so incredibly intelligent in code or generation of things with what you know, which it can never know, which is all the business logic and that human part of relating to the business and asking them for what they want and, you know, cutting through what they say they want to what they actually need to deliver their work, right? So that stuff, I don't think you're going to teach LLMs or AI and all. What we're trying to do here is really trying to leverage AI to allow us to do more of that work as we move forward.
And let us know in the chat what dumpster fire you've been using LLMs for. We've got a poll here, and it seems like most people haven't tried any of the Power BI or Fabric features in Power BI Fabric. I have to be honest. I'm one of those 56%, if that makes any of you feel better. Mostly because Fabric is expensive, so it's hard to try this stuff on my own. Mike, have you used any of these?
Yes, definitely have spent some time here. So I will say in places where I like to find, so anywhere I'm using AI, I'm 100% using AI anywhere where I'm writing code, right?
Yeah.
If I'm writing T-SQL, if I'm in a notebook, if I'm like, whether I'm just straight up using the Fabric experience, there's actually different places you can use this stuff. So I'm admittedly, I'm an Edge user. I use Microsoft Edge. And with my Edge, I get a nice little Copilot button that hangs out in the upper right-hand corner of my Edge all the time. Yep. So I actually juggle back and forth between, hey, I'm in a notebook. I know that for this kind of experience, this Copilot in the notebook works really well. Hey, I'm writing something that's not in the scope of notebooks. For example, we have a theme generator tool called Power Designer. We help you build theme files, right? So in that tool, I may want to send an image, get colors from an image. I may want to give three primary colors to an AI and say, build me a palette of 10 hex color codes with all this information. Boom, done, super fast. It's great. And I can even change it to format in a way that works directly with my theme file. So there's a lot of like low hanging fruit pieces there that AI does a really good job in there. So I use a mix of things. Sometimes it's Copilot in my browser. Sometimes it's Copilot in the tool. A lot of times I'm a big developer. I do a lot of work on notebooks. I do a lot of work in VS Code. I use GitHub Copilot. So there's a lot of agents that I'm using at my disposal, and I like the variety.
Yeah, I would have been in a lot of trouble with this Fabric project because I had my first Fabric project start 6 months ago. Didn't use Python since college, since high school, and ChatGPT was my PySpark buddy helping me through. And I've got code in production that ChatGPT helped me write.
Well, back to our point, right? You have a vague, like, you know how programming works. You know what you want to accomplish. That's the knowledge you bring to the table. I should no longer need to worry about the syntax or how to write a new defined function. I just shouldn't. I should be able to say, build me the function. I want it to do this. And it gives you a good first pass. You can always tweak it later, modify it a little bit. That's what I do. I love getting a good first pass with AI and then modifying to my needs. And then if I don't understand things, this is another area I think is really useful too. Something doesn't work, I go right back to, or don't understand what that line is doing. So a lot of times you'll see there's a function in Python called meld. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's taking two things and putting them together. And I didn't know what meld meant. Like, I didn't understand. So I went back to the agent and said, hey, in this line, explain what this means. What is this function doing? Boom, right there. It knows exactly the syntax, it has the documentation, and it gives me a detailed explanation, and it provides me an example. Like, wow, like can't all documentation just spit out answers and examples when you need them? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So anyways, really cool there. I want to go to this next slide. I think this is, okay, no credit of mine at all. This is Eugene to a T here. He makes some great visuals. I've been using his stuff for years, way back since the beginning of the blog that he's been doing here. if there's one thing you take away from this whole session, I think this and these next 2 slides are gold. So Eugene, take it away. Give us the vibe of what's going on here.
Yeah. So whenever I was trying to figure out how to put together this course that I'm working on, that hopefully in a few months will come out, I was overwhelmed because like you try to survey the landscape of here's every YouTube video that someone did with Power BI and AI or ChatGPT, and it feels really, really scattered. And you see a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, you can build a Power BI theme with just one-shotting it in ChatGPT. And it's like, well, how often am I going to do that? And so I wanted some mental framework of what stuff should you do and what stuff should you not? You know, the YOLO mindset of you only live once can go a couple different ways, right? And so I wanted to come up with some framework to think about this stuff. And so if we're dealing with the dumpster fire, I want to teach people how to find the diamonds in the dumpster is my idea here.
Yeah.
So we're going to start at the top right and just kind of circle around clockwise.
Sure.
So the diamonds in the dumpster are stuff that it takes you maybe a minute to validate. And if you screw up, it's fine. So, you know, if I'm setting up parameters, if I want to like parameterize all of my queries in Power BI, by having a ChatGPT or Claude or GitHub Copilot look at the PBIP file, I can easily verify that. I can just look, do my queries refresh? Yes or no? And if it messes up, I can roll it back, especially if I have Git source control, right?
Yeah.
So as you start to get more advanced with this stuff, and we're just on the precipice, but from what it seems like, you're going to be the bottleneck for review. We talked about the things that AI can't do. Well, the things that AI can't do, you're going to become that bottleneck. And so those are the diamonds. If we go around clockwise, we get the drudgery. So stuff like commenting. Those are things where who cares if you screw up a comment? It's going to be annoying, but you're not going to get your numbers wrong.
Yes.
But if you want to validate all those comments, that takes a long time. And so the drudgery kind of tasks are things where it's safe to do, but it can take a long time to verify. If we go up to the top left, we have the danger zone. These are things where you'll know if you screwed up really quickly, but you know, it's if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. And so one of the things I think of is if you're writing a measure for complicated, like let's say date logic, you can read the DAX code, you can figure out very quickly, but you don't want to just YOLO it and just say, all right, Claude, use the MCP server, write year over year previous sales, make sure we're using the maximum transaction date as today, right? You don't want to just YOLO that.
Yep.
But you can very quickly, again, in a minute, read through, compare the numbers, it's fine. And then in the bottom left is the disaster zone. You do not want to be anywhere near here. And so the disaster zone would be if you just say, you know what, Claude, write all of my DAX measures. Claude, I'm going to give you access, admin access to my database. Go ahead and do that database migration. Those are the things where, you know, there's a big risk of screwing it up or missing something. And there's so many moving parts that you can't easily be sure you caught everything. And so this to me, you know, I was inspired by like the whole political compass kind of meme. You know, this to me is kind of these 4 quadrants, and you want to try and find those diamonds. And one of the things that you're going to find out over time is there's stuff you can do to shift it on the quadrant, right? So use source control, figure out ways to validate the results, create tests. John Kursky has a whole blog series about data ops. And one of the more recent ones is he has a way to use Playwright to automate your browser, to run automated browser tests and see if you have broken visuals in your reports. So as you find these ways to be more robust, you can shift things to be safer, or you can make automated tests to make it quicker to verify things.
Love this. Absolutely love this. I love the way that you're kind of taking 2 axes of information. There's probably a third dimension that we're not even laying in here yet, but you know, I mean, this should really be like a legit cube, right? I mean, if we're talking about data cubes, right? We should have added one more dimension to cube this sucker out. And
people frown on 3D visuals in PowerPoint, so I didn't put. No, you're right, because like there's also the axis of just like how worth it is it, you know?
Yes.
Oh, that animation is beautiful, man.
Hot, right?
Yeah.
Phew, thanks AI for animating for me. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. So going back to your point here, right? Just kind of plotting out where we feel some things fitting in here, right? This is kind of just dropping some things where we feel there are low-hanging fruits, overlaying where they most make sense inside the slide here. I think this makes a lot of sense of what's going on, because this really jives with my mental model, right?
Yeah.
If I'm using data agents and it's giving out wrong information and I haven't built enough instructions, we're in a danger zone there. Like that, to me, that is, we got to be very careful about what we're throwing out there so people can see what's going on. Like to your point,
because you can't verify the numbers are wrong because someone else is getting the wrong information.
Yep.
And if someone gets the numbers wrong, like, people will lose faith in reporting. But also, like, if you've worked with financial reporting, they get mad if you're off by a penny.
Yes, sir.
So you absolutely have to make sure that that's rock solid if you're deploying that for anything that's business critical.
Yes, exactly right. I would also agree, like you touched point here, right? Report documentation. One of the things I like to also add here as well, just some other commentary that I'm throwing. Model organization. Where do the measures go? Do they belong in a folder? Should all the measures live in a measures table, or should the measures live in the fact table where they're being calculated from? Right? Do we have capitalization corrected on all our table names? Right? Is there an underscore? Right? Is there underscores where they shouldn't be in different places? Just remove them. Like, I don't want any underscores anywhere in the model. Why can't we get AI to do that? So I want to kind of point on that one. For me, is kind of like a really neat, like, that dot, I think, is, for me, starting to move around the map here a little bit, right? For me, and really unpacking, there is a Power BI MCP server. You can use that directly. That's being given to you by Microsoft. You can use it today. You spin up Power BI Desktop. You're in an agent, and you can talk to it. Hey, what kind of measures do I have? Where can you move them all to this table? Can you move these types of measures into this kind of folder and hide these columns? Simple tasks. The thing that really, really wowed me here was the automation of remedial things. Just ID columns, hide them all. Just simple statement, boom, done.
Yeah, I think so. It's funny. If I ever get this course done, my promise is going to be I can save you 30 minutes a week. And it feels like a very low anti-hype thing. But that should really be your goal, is like, how can you get AI to save you 30 minutes a week? Because I think that you can do that today. Yeah. Because all the stuff that you talked about, you could, calculation groups, field parameters, just all this stuff that you do today, and it's way too much clicky and way too much draggy droppy.
Yep. So I'm looking to reduce those. Another one I would also heavily recommend here is the writing Python stuff, right? So writing Python in Fabric notebooks. Love using agents to help me build that stuff as well. Eugene, I'm going to push on you, like T-SQL, right? You are maybe a SQL developer or a traditional SQL developer. There's probably some mental gaps for you as you move from regular SQL to T-SQL, right? That should not be a scary jump for me. Instead, that should just really move you into, I've got the expert at my fingertips. He's right there. My agent's available for me. I just got to go into Copilot and say, here, look, I would normally write this in SQL this way. Can you help me rewrite this in T-SQL? What am I missing? Yeah. What was pretty good, right?
And that's one of the things with Fabric is, unfortunately, there's like 3 or 5 different ways to do the same thing. And so I find myself writing both T-SQL and Spark SQL. Yeah. And I really don't want to have to know both of them. And, when we go back to the things humans can do and AI can't, it can absolutely write great T-SQL. It cannot provide good judgment on over-engineering, because the thing is, these AIs, they can do a little bit of not thinking, but judgment-like kind of stuff, but they're optimized for certain things. And I can tell you, Claude Sonnet 4.0, I don't know if 5.4 has gotten better, was really optimized for covering its butt. And so it hated worrying about like leaving out edge cases. It always wanted a backup. It always wanted to make sure it did it right.
Sure.
And I had it review a scope of work I was putting together for a customer. And this was like a 32-hour scope of work. Claude Sonnet said, well, this should be a phased project. It's going to be 120 hours, and you really need a project manager. And so, Claude likes the sandbag, and Claude likes to avoid the risk of error.
Sounds like every other consulting agency.
Yeah, no, pretty much. It got trained on McKinsey. And so the point is that, like, it can really, really just help you with that code, translate it. That's what it was designed for originally. Is it came from this tool called BERT, this transformer model called BERT that was designed to encode and decode one language to another. So it's really, really good at that. It's really good at finding the context. But these things are optimized for certain things. And a lot of times it's optimized for over-engineering. So you're still going to have to bring, put on your manager hat and be like, is that junior developer gold plating the scope? But
This is a perfect lead into our next slide, which is going to be directly dropping us into why does the analyst still matter? Why are we still doing what we do? Why are we still here in this position? I think you nailed the head on the head here. Human judgment and decision making. Like, this is not disappearing. Someone's got to figure this out. I've got to be able to weigh what the AI is doing and does this apply correctly to what we're doing here. So that's still involved. Business context, 100%. Like, there's no way. Eugene, we were talking before this one. We were talking about we're starting to treat AI agents or AI copilot like things as another employee to the organization.
Yeah.
And you brought up a great analogy that I think you should throw here about, imagine you always brought in a brand new employee. That's what I'm kind of referring to.
Yeah.
So imagine, go ahead, kick it off here. This is really good.
Yeah. So imagine that you outsource. Your CEO says, you know what, we're outsourcing all of our development work. We're going to go to this far off land with a low cost of living called Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They speak a strange dialect of English called Yinzers, Yinzies, and they like fries on their salads, and you got to work with them. And the problem is that this is a cheap outsourcing agency, and so there's a lot of turnover. And so every time you get someone to help you with something, it's a new person. And so you have to make sure that they have notes. But they get overwhelmed if the notes are too big. And so what you have to do is make sure you have a small note of all the really important stuff. And then you have documentation for everything else.
Put a table of contents in there that says, if you want this kind of information, go to page 10, right? Yes. If you want this kind of information, go to page 50, right? That makes a lot of sense.
It's got to be discoverable. And so you think about that perspective. If you were never allowed to write code again, then what would you do? And so in addition to having good documentation, you would have tests, you would have validation, you would have all these automated things, especially if if you're dealing with Python, you can do type checks, you can do unit tests, all this kind of stuff. And so when you start thinking like that, it really changes how you approach this stuff. There's a question from the chat about all these LLMs that I keep shouting the names of. So just to give a little bit of context really quick. So my recommendation, if you're going to use a large language model, just pick a frontier model and make sure that you're ideally paying money for it and that it's a thinking model. Everything else doesn't matter. So I mentioned a couple. So ChatGPT, the latest version is 5.2. It's got the instant mode for chat. That's awful, especially if anything Fabric. But you want to use the thinking mode. For Anthropic, they have really code-focused models. And so there's Claude, and it has a couple different levels. The Haiku, which is for simple tasks. Sonnet, which they have the song theme or poem theme. Sonnet, which is for regular tasks, and then Opus, which is for complex ones. Again, you just want to pick a good, strong model. One of the reasons that I think Mike and I like GitHub Copilot is you can pick and choose. So you can play around, you can try different ones, all this kind of stuff.
One other kind of side note here as well. I also want to caveat this a little bit with, there's Copilot, and there's a little icon that you're going to see all over Fabric everywhere, right? Copilot behind the scenes is picking whatever model it thinks it needs. It's doing a lot of secret sauce for you already. So when we're using like agent or talking to a model, right? That can occur anywhere in Fabric, basically. It's kind of all over the product. It's in notebooks. It's in the SQL data warehouse. It's in Copilot on home. So while we're talking specifically models, we're talking maybe more of like the pro developer, the pro analyst, right? You're in Power BI product, but you're also using some VS Code and side stuff as well. So again, this spans multiple portions of a career, right? If you're just pure analyst and only in PowerBI.com, you're going to want to sit yourself into Copilot. Those are the experiences you're going to want to interact with. So just from context, we're saying all the same things. Okay, excellent.
Cool.
I'm going to clip through a couple more slides here. We're getting closer on time. So I will also argue here, the data without any context is just going to be noise to an AI or whatever that you have there.
It's going to make guesses, and they're going to be bad ones.
That's very true. All right. So let's talk about these skills. So what to do What do you take away from this that's going to help you push you to the next level, right? I think these are spot on, right?
Yeah.
Keep working on your critical thinking skills. Always invest in your data storytelling. Research people, invest there, learn on those. Now we're going to say the word prompt engineering, but I'm going to maybe just simplify that even saying, learn how to talk to the AI. And these last two, I think, are really, really important. Understand what the AI can do, what capabilities you're finding. And again, our earlier talk was the capabilities are adjusting so stinking fast.
Yeah.
You've got to be resilient around it, and you've got to be willing to step in with a prompt, let it crash and burn, and then come back and try it again in another month or two, or on a different model, or in some other tool, because you might find different results from different things, which will then start giving you more success.
Yeah, two things I would say with this super quick. The prompt engineering, that's just talking to people, right? And so I think we just like one way we can get IT people to talk to other humans is just call it engineering. And so the way that I think about it is, imagine that you have a coworker who lives on the other side of the globe, and you have a problem. You're going to send an email, and they're not going to see it for 6 hours, and you're going to be asleep. Think about what you would put in that email. You would put in the context, you would put in the problem, you would put in what success looks like, and you would try to provide as much detail as possible. Do the same thing with AI. And then for the create with AI thing, if you start messing around with like agentic stuff, right, where it starts building code and that sort of thing, just have it do stuff that it shouldn't be able to do. And one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to find something it can't do and you put it in your notebook, and then 6 months later you see if that changed, or it makes a website in one shot and you're amazed and you realize it can do more than you thought. And so just try stuff that it shouldn't be able to do and see what happens.
Love it. Absolutely great. All right, let's keep skipping across here. So let's just really quickly touch on a quick item here around some experience sharing, and we're going to do a couple wrap-up slides and get you going through here as well. What do we use? These are kind of the tools that we're using today. We're using data agents in Fabric. We're using modeled context protocols, MCPs. This is a tool that you can use in concert with VS Code. I'm loving the whole AI Foundry or Azure Foundry right now. They've changed the name on me now. So it's Azure Foundry. I'm loving Azure Foundry. It's got some really neat tools in there. It allows me to integrate AI and models with other experiences that I'm using. I think this is a really cool product, and it'll let you embed this stuff directly in Teams and in other experiences as well. Anything else, Eugene, you'd add here?
Yeah, so 2 websites I want to recommend. One, as an alternative to Azure Foundry, if you're just playing around, check out OpenRouter, because you can spend $10 and you can get $10 in credits, and you can just try different models. You can compare them side by side, and you can run code against it. So this is great. This is what I used for my DAX leaderboard stuff, because the API to work with that is super simple. So when you want to go pro and enterprise, use Foundry. Whenever you just want to mess around, use OpenRouter. The other one is called LM Arena. It's a free website, and you ask a question of the chatbot, and you get 2 results, and you pick which one you think is better. So you watch them fight, and then you get to see which model is which. So ask it ask it if DAX is hard. There we go. Perfect. We're gonna find out which of our podcasts is the best one.
I don't know. We'll see what happens here.
Policy.
We'll see what happens if it goes.
So
okay,
we're
keep
gonna
going.
get 2 different answers. And you build an intuition for weak models and strong models this way, because a lot of people tried the free stuff, thought it wasn't that good, and just gave up. And so
we'll let it keep chewing here. Keep going.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So those are some other tools that I've used as well.
Oh, it just came back.
Yes. All right. So this is awesome because Casper on BI. I think that's there's the
look, I
Explicit
made it
Measures
number
podcast.
3. Woo-hoo!
Look at that.
Let's
Look
go.
at that. All right. And it'll be done in just a second here, and then you can pick which one you think I exist. I'm real. I'm on the map.
You made it.
Yes. All right. Pick which answer do you think is best? So at the bottom there.
Yes.
So
what are we saying? What are we voting on here?
The right mentioned both of ours, so that's the better one. So
100% is the better one. Yes.
And so drum roll, which model?
Gemini 3.
Gemini 3. So Claude Opus, I'm getting rid of my Claude account. It was
done.
wrong.
I'm done with you. You don't know me.
So that's a free way that you can build an intuition.
Wow, that's a really
which one's
fun
better.
experience. Cool.
Yeah.
Very fun. Awesome. Wonderful there. All right, excellent. Let's keep going here. All right, what we're really excited about, like there's so much stuff happening. Just stay in tune with like Reddit, stay in tune with like the social media platforms. If you can dream stuff, you can build it, right? There's a lot of really neat things that are coming out in the world. Definitely check them out. There's a lot of great stuff coming. So we really, really appreciate your time today and getting into things here. I do want to call out a couple things here. Let's go here, a couple more ahead. Fabric Data Days, this is upcoming. I definitely want to point you out here. More information is coming to you. Great shows like this. MVPs and experts across the community are going to be just giving you their experiences. This is better than paid training. It's just free in your YouTube channel. So we would love you to engage more here, continue to support and come here. Also, make sure you go visit Power BI Tips, our YouTube channels as well. So those are other places I also just shamelessly pitch here as well. Absolutely. And maybe Pam can get a link to the websites. Eugene, you've also got a blog site and a YouTube channel. Maybe we can
I do. SQLGENE.com, SQLgene.com. It's my blog.
Boom. Do it.
Yeah, you get to hear my last year, my 7th year of consulting, and how that was a wild ride. And before that, my 3-week binge of Claude Code and The Hangover I woke up with afterwards. So absolutely.
Today is January 22nd. You're listening to the Being Data Analyst in a Day, an era of AI. Check out Get Certified. There's a lot of things coming up. Jan 27th, 3rd, and 4th. These are also really good as well. Check out the link here below. And then definitely want to tune in for Power BI Data Viz World Championships. This is going to be amazing. You'll learn some stuff. You'll be inspired. You'll want to build more things after you watch this. I guarantee it. This is good stuff here. So the team is putting on some amazing stuff for you to invest in. Get your DP 600 and 700 exam. This is your link, aka.ms/FabCert 2026. That's the link you want to use. Limited offers. So make sure you get into and get that right away. And then finally, I'll see you at FabCon. We're going to get Eugene there. Come on, you can make it.
Go away on a boat, but I hope to be there.
Yes, awesome. We would love to get everyone. So definitely come and enjoy this. This is where the data community lives. We show up here. We have a lot of fun. We talk and meet people. This is going to be super enjoyable. Definitely highly recommend these conferences. I have found a lot of value from them and learn a lot as well. So definitely check that out as well.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being involved. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much. And I think we'll kick it back over to the end here. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you at the next one.